Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 1863 of What's She Up To Now, documenting the journey. Originally started popping online and doing like an online journal when about a year into my exploration of the internet, my hopping online and doing things, worked on things, tried things, learned a lot in the first year. And then I'm like, all right, well, I can learn and learn and learn until I die, or I can start implementing and doing and trying and testing things and seeing what works, what doesn't work for me, because what works for other people doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work for me. I've learned over the decades that some things I have to figure out on my own. I have to figure out how to apply them and actually take action and put them out into the world on my own. Our annual challenge this year is the Get Your Goals annual challenge. And we're switching gears from emotional well-being last month. We focused every day on emotional well-being and our emotional goals to mental. It's going to be mental March or something. It'll be mental well-being March. And we'll talk about, will you learn through this SOAP framework, which is something we started doing in 2020 with the pandemic. I think it was March. We did a 10-day challenge, and then we went into April. We started doing 30-day challenges every other month then through 2020 and 2021, the Get Your Goals challenge. And part of that was sharing the framework that I use personally for dealing with challenges and setbacks and obstacles and problems and crap that comes up that I wish never came up. And I didn't call it the SOAP framework prior to 2020. It was just the process that I personally used to make sure that I got the best possible result for me at the time that I was experiencing the situation. And of course, whenever we look back on things that have happened to us in the past, we're like, hopefully learning and saying, well, what might my result have been if I had done this or said that or thought this instead of what I actually did? So we're learning lessons from each of the experiences we have as we continually improve and grow throughout our lives. So I began calling it the SOAP framework, and we go through this SOAP framework we did that throughout the entire Get Up and Go challenge. And then in 2022, just last year, I did my own annual challenge. I've been doing annual challenges. So I think this is my sixth. I've been doing them for decades, but I wasn't sharing them online with other people until the first one I did was do one thing every day that scares you, because I wanted to get over being afraid to show up and pop on video and talk to people, right? Talk to the people that I'm here to talk to and interact with. Not for everybody. Totally get that. Lots of people think I'm crazy, including family members. And I'm okay with that, because I choose to do what feels right for me, and they get to choose to do what feels right for them. If we all just treated everybody with respect and let people be themselves, the world would be a much happier, better, less prejudiced, less crazy place. Because the truth is, we're all different. We all have our own way of thinking, our own version of reality, our own thoughts, our own feelings, our beliefs and experiences about things, and they're all different. 100%, every person on the planet has had a different life experience, right? And so for us to expect other people to think and believe the way we do is beyond ridiculous. So today our topic, as we're switching to mental well-being, is both our topic and our idiom for Supersize Your Business today. Thoughts become things. Personally love this topic. I didn't necessarily used to be. Before my sudden cardiac arrest, I studied a little bit about the law of attraction and Think and Grow Rich and positive thinking and different impact of different things on our lives. But I didn't get into it as much as I did following my sudden cardiac arrest, primarily because during my recovery period and subsequent eye surgery, I had time to explore and look into and do things that I was curious about and had always wanted to be learning more about. And part of that journey for me personally was trying to figure out what the heck happened to me. And I realized that if I'm taking personal responsibility for everything in my life, that means I'm also responsible for the thoughts and the beliefs that I've had throughout my life. I still am. Sometimes we don't want to take responsibility and we want to blame other things. It's human nature. But the truth is, we create the life that we think we deserve. Not necessarily the life that we want, but the life that we actually think and believe that we deserve. And we'll talk about that this month as well. Beliefs and thoughts and how we create what it is that we want in our life. Because that's a huge component and part of our mental health and our mental area and aspect of life. And I'm not going to go deep into mental health, because I've had plenty of people tell me I'm crazy and that I should get treatment, mainly my ex-husband. So I think, like I said, we're all different. We all think differently. And that is absolutely positively perfectly okay, as long as you're not harming other living beings, right? Or other human beings especially. So thoughts become things talks about, and it's really speaking to the law of attraction and our ability to create what we want in our lives. Guess what? It works both ways. We can create what we want in our life. We also create what we don't want in our life. And for me, my biggest personal example of that was probably my divorce, as well as my then prior to well, and that happened after my sudden cardiac arrest, but my sudden cardiac arrest, because I hadn't really ever heard of what the heck's the sudden cardiac arrest. And then here I had one and survived one, which is unusual because the vast majority of the people that have a sudden cardiac arrest do not survive. They do not live beyond that, or they do not live without organ damage. And the most common organ damage is not only your heart, but your brain. So I'm like very, 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 very grateful and fortunate to still be here and able to semi-coherently talk. But the one thing I meant to share in Supersize Your Business about the whole idea of thoughts become things is we have the ability to not change the past, but we can go back to our past experiences and we could try to recall, what was I thinking before this thing happened? What was I thinking before this result showed up in my life? And if we don't know what or why something happened to us, one of the fastest, easiest ways to do it is to, meditate and think on and analyze our thoughts prior to the thing that happened. I did that with my sudden cardiac arrest and learned so many lessons about the power of my own ability to think things into creation, even things I've never heard of before or never thought I'd heard of before. I'm sure on a subconscious level in the news or something, or in our news articles, I read about people that had sudden cardiac arrests or broken heart syndrome. And then usually they say, oh, there's no cause for it. Well, there's a lot of things in my life that have happened that I didn't think there was a cause for, but there probably is a root cause. I just wasn't consciously aware of it. So we can take anything that happens, good or bad, any result that we get in our life, and we can dissect it, I guess, and we can study it and learn from it based on, what was I thinking? What was I believing? Because our beliefs are thoughts. We think a lot, right? What was I believing before this happened and I got this result? And if we get a result we want to do that so we can create more of that in our life. If we get a result we don't want, I think it's even more important that we figure out what thoughts led up to that so that we make sure we don't make those our go-to thoughts. My biggest example from my sudden cardiac arrest is when I woke up in the hospital, the first words out of my mouth were WTF. I like to think everybody knows what WTF means now, but if you don't, you can Google it. But that was an extremely eye-opening and enlightening thing for me to say and realize when I woke up from the coma, because that is one of the things that I needed to explore. Why was my go-to response for everything and pretty much everything prior to my sudden cardiac arrest, WTF? I was asking myself probably hundreds, if not thousands of times a day, what the F? Why isn't this the way I think it should be? What's wrong with this? And all of that negative thinking, I think, contributed to my sudden cardiac arrest. And of course, there was lots of excuses and lots of bad crap going on in my life, and not just in one area of my life in that time period, but in a bunch of areas of my life. Lots of things were happening in my business, a couple of my businesses, in my personal relationship, in my kids were good. I guess my kids were good. So that wasn't it. But everything else, pretty much every other area of my life was just exploding. And I felt like I didn't have control and I didn't know what to do. And I realized after the fact that hundreds of times a day I was saying, I don't know what to do about this. I can't handle this. And that's the only time in my life I remember thinking, I can't handle this. I don't know what to do. It's too much. It's just one more thing, one more thing, one more thing. And I realized that type thinking can actually kill me. So guess what? I don't think that ever anymore. Those thoughts have been banished from my brain, conscious and subconscious. And it took some work, but it's made life a whole lot more fun. All right, so thoughts become things. Love to know your thoughts on the idea and the idiom, thoughts become things. Do you believe that you have the ability or any ability to create things in your life? And my challenge in the challenge today was, think about one thing that you've got in your life, or you've that's in your life, and did you think about it in order for it to show up in your life? it applies to everything, right? Good and bad. Every job we've ever had, everything we've ever created, anything we've ever wanted that we've actually gotten, any achievement we've ever done, I guarantee you thought about it first, probably visualized it, whether you were consciously aware of it or not, and then did some things, took some actions, maybe practiced to create that in your life. But I challenge you to think of one thing that was important to you and share that in the comments below. All right, that's all I've got. If I can help you anyway, ask. Otherwise, I am thinking about things I want to create in my life and in the lives of others. All right, have an awesome day. I'll be with you tomorrow.